Welcome to a very special episode of the Tripping Off podcast. I've got you, and I've got you. We're trying something new out here, and on this special episode, we'll also have a special episode answering some fan comments. And so, if you have not followed over on my personal channel, Lion Mental Health, we do Dream Therapy, the Dream Show. And Rin was so gracious as to come on the Dream Show and unpack one of her dreams. It posted just this last weekend. And as we were kind of getting into it, Rin's like, oh yeah, I'm also in your trauma-focused hypnotherapy Discord server. I'm excited to take the course here soon. It's just not the right time. I've got some personal stuff. I'm already in like some courses. I want to be clear-headed to take a new course. And so she asked some wonderful questions that I thought we could just go over today. So here, I guess I'll read. And Zach, I'll let you respond first. Is that cool?
Yeah, this is great.
So shout out to Rin from Virginia. It says, hey Jesse, thanks again for our dream session yesterday. Thanks for being generous with your superpower. I appreciate that. Okay, my idea for the podcast is this question: how did you come to hypnotherapy, and how has it shaped you as a therapist?
Yeah,
That's a big question, man. It's so good too.
And complicated, beautifully complicated.
Yeah.
First, I was trained in hypnotherapy in Europe because it seemed like it was fun. And
Honestly,
it as elective.
Kind of same, yeah. Well, this is interesting.
Yeah. Then wasn't certified in the States, so I did that here because it seemed like it was going to be important to be able to do that to be certified in it if I was already trained in it. But then I guess I doubled down after Pulse. That was the big thing for me is I think, and this kind of gets to the second question. So maybe I'll pause there and let you respond too. But I'd say the extent that I do hypnotherapy now is based on my frustration with top-down only therapies.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say top-down only therapies, for maybe those listening and like just starting their counseling career, what do you mean when you say that?
I think that it's, well, top-down, meaning we affect the brain to affect the body.
Right.
We affect the conscious mind to affect the unconscious mind. And that is excellent when people have a lot of insight, when they have a lot of healthy mind-body connection, when they're close to their unconscious. That's great. But when they're not, it poses problems. I was getting very frustrated because clients would come in and be like, well, that makes sense, but then it's not fully integrated into their body and their unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And there's not much that traditional cognitive therapies can do in that case.
Well, and I think to that point, like one of the things that's the most directly affected is the integration of mind and body when it comes to trauma. Like the body is like, whoa, this is more than we can handle. This is sensory overload. This is painful. This is traumatic. So stop all input, disassociate, disconnect, which is a safety response.
And I'm glad that we have that safety response.
Yeah, but recovering from it, well, how do we turn that back on after it's been disconnected? How do I reconnect with myself after my body's been like, don't connect with me. It's too painful down here.
Yeah, and it's like a veto that the body and the unconscious mind have. I think that is wonderful. But I explain that to clients a lot of times. Like it's like a veto that we should have.
Yes.
It's a checks and balances within the body, within the system, the psyche.
Yeah. And so those top-down approaches, though it may cognitively make sense, it makes sense only in this part of the brain. This part of the brain's still like, yeah, you can go ahead and think that. We're still disconnected for safety. How do you reconnect with hypnotherapy? It's got to be some kind of integrated sort of bottom-up approach. Bottom meaning the body, up to the cognition.
Yep.
And so...
And there, to be fair, there's other therapies I think that do a good job with the bottom up perspective. But one, I'm not going to be touching any of my clients.
This is true.
I'm not good at movement stuff. And so it fits good with me as a clinician.
That's a huge part of it too. Like I've been very much influenced by somatic
Exactly.
therapies and
It's true.
trauma-informed yoga, but I'm no yoga master or really, I mean, some of my trauma has caused me to be disintegrated with my body. So I don't know how much in those modalities, one, that they're authentic to me, and then two, how adept I feel at those. That may be opportunity for future training for me
Yeah.
that I can integrate. But I like the hypnosis and the way that it does that.
And also liability and insurance stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to be
We,
touching people.
yeah,
That gets weird.
yeah.
Um, which actually is a good point. There's a lot of, as you're considering the course, there's a lot of different hypnotherapies that will integrate like touching the client,
Mhm.
specifically very simple stuff like, sort of taking the arm and lifting it up. So that way, you can kind of have that really deep grounding, like getting into it sort of feeling. But I don't touch any of my clients because we're working specifically with trauma, and touching is, well, very triggering. So I'm not going to do that. Hypnotherapy allows us to reintegrate without having to like, do a boop on the nose or, a lot of hypnotherapists will touch right here on your forehead to reintegrate you. But you don't have to. I think there's some wisdom in not doing that for those who've experienced trauma related to being touched non-consensually.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. So, I mean, I think my answer to that question is, how did you come to hypnotherapy and how's it shaped you as a therapist? It shaped me a lot, man. And I was very fortunate to have taken the hypnotherapy course while I was a student intern.
Mm.
I was still in grad school learning all of these things. And because I had this understanding of the way that the subconscious worked, and then was getting this education from a top down approach, it allowed me to naturally be able to integrate those cognitive type of therapies into a more holistic type of therapy. So I was very grateful to have taken it at the time that I did. I didn't have to unlearn as much as I think some of the students
Yeah,
unlearn as they go through our class. It can be difficult for them because they've
absolutely.
got these assumptions already kind of baked in from their master's degree education.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most difficult things that we wrestle with is professors that don't really know about hypnotherapy talking about hypnotherapy from the perspective of what's good and bad.
Yeah. So maybe on that point, there's three questions that Rin left for us. Second question is maybe a before and after hypnosis entered the picture story. I have something that comes to my mind. Does anything come to your
Yeah,
mind?
go for it. I mean, but yes.
Yeah, I can see you processing like, whoa, and I wonder if for you the question is difficult in the same way it's difficult for me because hypnotherapy has been such a part of my therapeutic practice that it's hard to even remember a time before. Again, because I was a student intern. So there wasn't a lot of time before. But I can speak to the Jesse that was, over 10 years ago, going through grad school. I was such an analytical cognitive therapist, but not in a CBT solution focused DBT way. There's a lot of acronyms, but cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy are the two acronyms I used. I love thinking. I love logic. I love systems because for me, they feel safe.
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of that is um, those cognitive type of therapies can feel safe for me because they don't integrate the body. But that's my countertransference onto the client. I don't feel safe going there to the body. So I'm not going to lead you into being safe going there to the body. I'm going to stay up in the head. And so classic, 21-year-old Jesse, loving psychodynamic analysis.
Hmm.
I could see myself without having the education from hypnotherapy being, I'm sure I would have done great work, but man, I would have been miserable. Just over analyzing the boogers out of all of my clients, and well, this is connected to this, and there's a subconscious attachment to that, and the clients would leave, I'm sure, with a lot of really good insight as to what's going on, but no fix
Yeah.
for what's going on. And so this gave me the tools to be able to reintegrate the unconscious with the conscious, not just analyze the subconscious.
Yeah. Well, and I'll add to that because I wasn't going to give so much detail about what was before, but the result of me being in that space for long periods of time with clients, I think was frustrating me because I had the
Mm.
expectation of needing to fix this client and the expectation of if I give them enough insight, that problem will be fixed.
Which is classic, like, psychoanalysis,
Yeah.
right? Psychodynamic theory is if you make the subconscious conscious, that information will integrate.
Not always.
Not always, especially when there's trauma and dissociation.
Yeah, yeah. So I was very frustrated with the space of, wait, you just had this major breakthrough last week, and you did what this week?
Same shit, different week.
Yeah. And that was just so frustrating, and I think that I was really grasping for something more.
Yeah.
And so even in my attempts to learn hypnosis, I was still trying to look for something that would fix the client. But then in getting trained in it and then getting trained in it in more depth, I think that what it did was not only give me a tool for them to fix themselves, therefore satisfying that healer countertransference that I was feeling.
Ooh, the need to be a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And to see somebody
Wow.
being fixed in the process, it also gave me the insight of, like, in learning how the unconscious mind works and in true integration works. I was much more able to give that process up to the client rather than taking it on as my own responsibility.
That's beautiful. The part that I'll add to it is I think with my psychoanalysis type of mindset, I would have tried to bridge that gap by coming up with good homework
Yeah,
for the client.
absolutely.
Right? I'd have been like, okay, based on this, it's connected with that, and your subconscious is sabotaging in this way, so here's your homework. This week, I want you to do X, Y, Z. And they come back and they didn't do X, Y, Z.
Of course.
Now, some very motivated, but also very introspective and naturally very good at the counseling process clients would do that. Right? But then you have those others who have had such a long and complex history of trauma that it's not fair to assume that they can do that homework. It's too painful, no matter how simple you make it. And so what hypnotherapy has done for me, the before and after, is instead of just analyzing and providing homework for them to do on their own, I can bridge that gap by allowing them to experience what the homework would feel like.
Yeah, right, in that moment.
Right. So if I say, go back home and this week I want you to journal about your emotions, to reintegrate an awareness of what you are emotionally experiencing, that's a great piece of homework. But if you're so dissociated that you always never know what you're feeling, well, that's kind of an impossible task.
And it kind of sets them up for failure.
It does set them up for failure. And then the subconscious suggestion of, oh, see, I'm too broken to be fixed. Hypnotherapy, I can put them into an experience inside of their mind, not necessarily a traumatic one, just like so many times I've had people go into a hypnotic trance and then they're experiencing a beautiful waterfall or a river, and they're looking into the river and emotions are coming out of the river and into them. Right? And so they're experiencing these emotions that float down the river, symbolically the river of consciousness, right? And I can help them explain. I can even comment on their body as you think about this that floats down the river. You know, sometimes maybe they'll see like Polaroid pictures floating down the river, and they'll reach down and pick one up and look at it, remember a memory. And in the safety of that safe place, they can reintegrate the emotions that were lost from that experience in a safe way, and I can guide them through it, even saying, you know, clients think that I'm a mind reader and I'm not. I'm just, they're like this, and I see their eye twitch or their shoulder twitch, and I can comment on that without them knowing that they're doing that. You can feel your shoulders raise in defense of your ears because you feel scared. And they're like, oh, yeah, I feel that. And you can make the conscious decision, I'm safe, I am capable, I am well, I am okay.
Which is the exact opposite of what they probably would have done with those learned defenses on their own, probably not in a safe place, with people that are not safe.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how many of and I love them so much, my borderline personality clients who are struggling with that kind of, those kind of symptoms, they'll go home and do the homework and then they'll come back with all these journal writings of how awful they are. I'm like, oh no, you did great. But I can see the learned responses to your trauma filtering back in, right? You had to blame yourself. You had to be the worst. You had to reach out for help and admit that you were awful and broken because that's what the abusive person wanted you to say about yourself. And so it's so baked into the subconscious that disentangling it in the safety of the therapy room with the counselor guiding that bridges that gap to allow for the homework to continue after the session.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another way to do that. There's not, unless it's some kind of somatic or holistic type of therapy. And hypnosis, I believe, is the best one to do it.
Yeah. That's I hear this a lot. I'm sure you do, just based on how philosophical we can be.
Yeah.
But I'll have clients sometimes be like, I'll say something, and they're looking at a subject in their life on the scale of good to bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like I just said this to a client on Friday, and I was just like, we can't have a conversation about this because every time I say something that is outside of this container of good and bad, you bring that thing into the container of good and bad, and you say that doesn't make any sense. Well, it
Right.
does as soon as you're outside of that container. And being outside of that container is actually the safe space.
Yes.
And this client was just like, I don't even know what that means. And I was like, I know.
Yes. And that's okay. Like I know that you don't know what it means. That's okay. That's okay.
That's great. It has to be experienced. So I told him, you talking about how you want to think about your feelings is like me talking about how that smell looks.
Yeah.
It's two totally different senses.
Right. That's great.
It's totally different. You smell about smelling and you see about seeing. And they were like,
Oh,
well, then I don't know how to experience my emotions. And I was like,
welcome to therapy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Ah, that's great. Yeah. I think that's what I would say to answer those questions and why and how hypnosis has changed me. But there's a great final question as we
yeah,
kind of wrap up today's,
yeah.
which I think we'll spend most of the time on. Has it impacted your burnout or perhaps and work satisfaction?
Uh, Thanks for it's a great question, but the answer from my experience
Mhm.
is absolutely 100%. That is a softball. Uh, that I would not be doing this, and just the paradigm shift of looking at the mind from a hypnotic perspective, I wouldn't be able to do this. 40,000 hours working in trauma. That, that I was just talking to a friend of mine that was a major player like myself at the organizing the HQ at Pulse, and we realized that out of the people that were organizing and that were major players in that arena,
Mm,
there was probably 50 or 60 therapists,
mm.
and we counted that there's three left working
As therapists?
as therapists.
Well, that's really interesting.
Three.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it was, I mean, we're making maybe a false assumption that it was too much and they gave up. But how do you receive that data?
Burnout, like
Oh, yeah.
working so much with trauma. Is that everybody right now is like, I'm trauma informed, and you're going to get clients that have this big stuff, and if you need to fix them, if you use these top down techniques, you
Mm.
will burn out. You will.
Why do you think that is? Why is it that the top-down techniques lend themselves to burnout so quickly?
And I think that it's frustrating. And there's funny enough, there's a hypnotic suggestion that we're not doing our job, that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing when it is so frustrating, and we're doing so much work to fix this person, to give them something that they can think about. In a space that no matter how much thinking you do, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah. I'm sort of taking an analytical approach to that, and I'm thinking maybe for those who are in school, the way that school would talk about this is treatment planning, right? I meet with so many of my It's a good face rub. I meet so many of my student and registered interns who will get frustrated with clients. Frustrated may be a tough word. It's more self-frustration that the clients aren't making progress. And I'm like, well, you might just be looking in the wrong place. If you're looking for them to make this kind of cognitive progress, you're going to be disappointed. There's 400 steps before you get to that cognitive process that all relate to the more subconscious and body integration that you're missing. And so then I'll look at their case notes and observe their sessions and be like, look, great progress there, there, and there. You need to point that out to your clients so that they are encouraged by seeing the progress. And you also need to pay attention to those markers instead of these other ones, because you'll end up burning out and frustrated because you're not seeing the work that's actually done there. How many times have we had a client that we've seen for 3, 4, 5 years that makes a huge breakthrough because there was all of this subconscious processing that was taking place that took that long? And to their credit, after 20 years of trauma, 3 years of sitting with a therapist to, process those things through is fantastically rapid pace.
Yes.
Depending on the situation, your mileage may differ.
But and don't get me wrong, treatment planning is important.
Yes.
But I don't know how to label this, but it's something along the lines of treatment planning chasing or something along those. I didn't work with the title, but I work with this a lot with my interns. Is being in a situation where you're just continually chasing a better treatment plan that is still going to give the suggestion of I need to fix this person. And I don't think that clients should be at fault for this when the counselor is like, okay, well, you brought up this issue and you didn't work on it. And then you brought up this issue. And so I'm continually changing my treatment plan for you because you don't know what you want to work on. Well, yeah, that's why they're there.
I can't feel anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to work on because I don't know what feeling I'm chasing. And perhaps I've never felt what it's like to have a healthy relationship or to be happy.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend, over the weekend, and, they're like, I feel different today. And I was like, they described what it was. I was like, do you think you might be feeling happy? Like, whoa. They're like, yeah, I think I'm feeling happy, and that's a weird feeling for me. I'm like, I'm really happy for you. Like, that makes me really smile. And so, to the topic of burnout and how that helps with burnout is, if you're doing a job that feels like you're getting nowhere, it's really taxing.
It's so
mentally
taxing.
and emotionally. But if you're able to experience the therapeutic process with the client, like happens with hypnotherapy, every day is so rewarding.
Yeah.
And it also helps you conceptualize why this is not my responsibility to fix. It's my responsibility to catalyze, to be the catalyst that allows for their own healing. And we do this in medicine too. We'll stimulate certain processes in the body to let it naturally correct things. And once it's sort of stimulated in the right way, I mean, maybe the most tangible example would be like acupuncture, right? Acupuncture, for those who are into it, and I think there's a lot of our audience who is, the acupuncture, like poking needles in someone itself, is not correcting anything, but it's getting the body to focus and pay attention on a certain area and to stimulate its own healing process, right? And that's sort of the grounding foundation behind acupuncture. That's what we're doing as therapists, is just putting a needle here and there to motivate, catalyze the natural healing process.
Get them to do the work.
Right.
Bodies.
So no, I don't feel at any risk of burnout. If there is something that burns me out, it's all the paperwork and arguing with insurance companies, because I can't be a hypnotherapist with those. It's so clinical. But the work itself, oh man, people marvel all the time. They'll be like, how do you see so many clients in a day? There are times I would get up to 10, 12 clients in a day. And they're like, how do you do that? I just can't do all that. I'm like, well, probably because you're doing it wrong. every moment that I spend just enjoying the therapeutic work with a client is beautiful and magical, and it doesn't wear me out. If anything, it gives me energy. I go home and play with my kid at the end of the day because I'm just so excited to be alive.
Well, and I like this phrase is when I get asked that question, the response is, how could you not be amazed by this? The most interesting person in the entire world is sitting in front of you hour after hour after hour. And I'm like, what's to be burnt out about that? Well, what happens if they don't make any progress? They are.
Yeah. Every week is different. Every week is different. You can't stay the same. That is impossible. But being blind to the ways that they're changing as a therapist is very common. So
Yeah.
until next time, bye.